Hey guys, how is it going on? So I'm here today to do a video on my top 10 favourite Boku no Hero quirks. Now, let's get straight into this because I want to cut straight to the chase. I'm hyped. This video has been long awaited. I've been thinking about this pretty much since the start of the series, to be honest. And before we get into this, I just want to introduce a little disclaimer kind of thing. This list is subjective. This is biased. These are my favourite quirks. They may not be your favourite quirks. Some of these quirks that I list in, you may think, hang on, that's not that good of a quirk. You should have put this one in. And that's fine. You're all entitled to your own opinion. So tell me your favourite quirks in the comments below so we can continue this discussion. But I just want to say that before we get into it because there's a lot of quirks in this series, there really is, and that's due to their massive amount of characters. And pretty much every single quirk that Horikoshi, the author, the creator himself, has introduced into this series, they're amazing, they're so unique, they're so different. And it was really hard to produce this list, so I didn't really produce it just based on its power output. I produced it based on its uniqueness, I produced it on its potential, on why it stood out for me and stuff. So let's get straight into this. This is not in any order, by the way, so this ain't going to be my least favourite. Number 1 won't be like my most favourite, number 10 won't be my least. So let's get straight into the first one, and that is half cold, half hot. And that is the quirk which is from Todoroki Shoto. Now guys, I love this quirk because when it first came in, I was just like, first of all, when we first got introduced into his character, he only used his cold side, so he only used his ice side, and that was hype because I really do love like the elemental kind of quirks. And you'll notice from my list, there's quite a lot of elemental quirks in this list as well. So let me give you a quick description, a quick recap on Todoroki's quirk. Basically, Todoroki, he's able to raise his bodily temperature to really hot, really cold, and by him doing that, he can emit fire from one of his, I think it's his right side, and he can emit ice from his left. Now there is a disadvantage to this quirk because he needs to thermoregulate his body for this. For example, if he uses too much of his cold side for a long time, he can get frostbite pretty much. His body is affected by this. His body is not immune to the low drop in temperatures. So we do not know actually what happens if he uses his fire side for a long time, but we do know if he manages to control both of them optimally, it could probably offset this disadvantage. So it does really have a lot of potential to be amazing. First of all, it's got an amazing AoE. It's got a wide range of attacks. He's got different what's the word? He's got different abilities to use within it as well, like different named attacks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it had to be done. Number 2 is Dark Shadow, and that is of course by Tokiyami. Now what I love about this quirk so much is the fact that Dark Shadow is sentient. Dark Shadow is a being within itself that is hosted within Tokiyami. Tokiyami is like the host of Dark Shadow. And with this quirk, we've got a lot of Egyptian references because Tokiyami is actually called, its name similar to, I think, Tsukuyomi or Tsukuyomi, which is the moon god in Egyptian mythology. So we've got a lot of Egyptian references right there, and right down to the abilities, it's extremely mystical. For example, the later it is, the darker it is, Tokiyami, Dark Shadow gets more stronger, he gets more vicious, and he becomes to be able to take control over the host. He possesses Tokiyami pretty much, and there was a couple of chapters back in like chapter 70, chapter 80, Tokiyami, he lost control. Dark Shadow took over him. You literally saw the darkness wrap over him. And what I really do love about it is obviously that, but it's also, I do love the irony in Dark Shadow, and that is because if you look at it, a lot of Shonen Jump series, the main protagonist kind of has that uncontrollable power within him. He has that kind of demonic, that evil power that he fully can't control, but it will come out one day, and like it's extreme. It's kind of like Ichigo with his hollow powers, or Naruto with, you know, the nine-tailed fox, stuff like that. And it's very interesting that Tokiyami, he's got this kind of power, yet he's not the protagonist. So I really did love what Horikoshi did to that, and it's really awesome. Now we do know a disadvantage to this quirk, and that is the more light it is, it's 70% weaker. Now, when Tokiyami's in daytime, he can only use 30% of his strength. Bear in mind that it's still unbelievably strong. We've seen Tokiyami with 30% strength of Dark Shadow being able to block some of Bakugo's explosions. So it is a strong quirk in its own right at daytime, midday. But its other disadvantage is that it's extremely weak to light. So the more light it is, Dark Shadow, not only his power gets diminished, but also his presence as well. So when Dark Shadow, it was nighttime and it took control over Tokiyami, Bakugo and Todoroki, they just used a lot of, used their fire and the explosions, and that obviously has wasted energy through light output. So that light diminished Dark Shadow. Now, when Dark Shadow is obviously in the night, and when he is in this vicious state at night time, his strength grows tenfold. His claws was able to rip through forests and pretty much destroy a villain. Like, within one attack, I don't know if it was dead, but critical injury. So Dark Shadow is extremely strong. I do think if Tokiyami is able to, not enhance, but he's able to embrace this power. If he's able to control the power at night, but in midday, then Tokiyami is an extremely strong contender. Just for anything, he's going to be extremely powerful. So this leads me to my third quirk, and that is Brainwashing by Shinzo. We saw Shinzo very recently in the manga, actually. Now, Brainwashing, I love it. It's such an OP quirk, and what I really do love about it is it's such a villainous quirk, but it's on a hero. So I really do like that, and with that, it just gives such amazing character development for Shinzo, the person who has this quirk. So if you guys don't know what Brainwashing actually is, basically, Brainwashing, we do know what Brainwashing is, but his quirk is he can control people's minds whenever he decides to. So, and this is activated by the person responding to them. So let's say Shinzo asks me a question and I respond to him. Through my response, he's allowed to control my mind. He's allowed to control my body, and that. And we see with this brainwashing technique, it's not just limited to one person. He can control many people, because we see in the sports festival. Now this isn't really spoilers for your anime only watchers, but in the sports festival, he's controlling multiple people. And so we do know, we're not sure of how much of the limit is. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe the more bodies he's controlling, it puts more strain on his mental capacity. I'm not really sure. But it's very easy. Now this is a disadvantage. It's very easy to get loose of this control, and that's by if you have a very hard physical shock to you. So for example, when people got bumped, the brainwashing kind of stopped. Now this may be a testament to how weak the connection is, how fragile the connection can be, and maybe that means because obviously Shinzo, he needs so much focus on controlling this person. I'm not really sure. Only time can tell when we see more of this character. But yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, it's so OP, like unbelievably OP for a villain and for a hero. So you can do so many things with it, and you're pretty much, like, as soon as you respond to the guy, it's game over pretty much. So on to my next quirk. Now this quirk, I wasn't anticipating it, but I was really thinking about it. I was contemplating whether I should put it on my list, and that is Engine by Ida. Now, this is not the strongest of quirks, it's not the most powerful of quirks, but I really do like it because it's versatile. And I only started to like it during the Stain arc, and that's only because of what Ida can do with it. Now, right in this point in time, Ida, he's very limiting his quirk. And I feel that, and I'm saying that in a phrase because, first of all, you've got engines on your freaking legs. Like, for one, that gives you amazing acceleration, but two, it gives you enhanced mobility, enhanced agility. So, I do think he's got potential to be amazing. Like, he could be an amazing hero with it, especially in the urban scene, in the urban environment, in any environment, to be honest. Because engine is one of the quirk where it's not limited to an environment. If we think of something like Bakugo's explosions, he'll need to be very careful about using his explosions quirk in the civilian urban environment where there's bystanders there, for example. But if it's Ida, his engine, it's just mobility. He literally can he can move around through any environment he wants. He can be comfortable in any environment, comfortable to fight in any environment, to be honest. Other than, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about, who knows, maybe the engine will get a little bit plugged. But, yeah, so, I do like the quirk. I do think it's got amazing potential. He can grow with it so much if he increases his agility. I do think it would be cool if he had like a massive staff, kind of like a rod. That would be cool if he had a weapon on him, because he's got legs, but he should still use his arms. So, like, imagine if he has like a massive, like a rod kind of thing. That would be pretty cool. And he gets into like the martial arts kind of stuff. That would be awesome. So, one of the disadvantages is that his engine can stall. And I think that's pretty much all his disadvantages, to be honest. So let's go on to Fiber Master. Now, Fiber Master is obviously by Best Genist, the fourth best hero. I love the quirks, probably one of my favourite quirks, to be honest, and that's because of, first of all, Fiber Master is an extremely powerful quirk, especially in our society. We all wear clothes. but it's the fact that it's a simple quirk, and he only got to this popularity, only got to this strength because he put diligence in his training. Best Genius diligently trained to improve this quirk. This is why All For One didn't decide to steal it, because it was just like, your quirk's not of use. It's only good because you train so hard with it. So that's what I really do love about it, Fiber Master. Some of the cool things which he can do, you can obviously control any of your fibers. We've seen it when he controlled some of the people's fibers. He pushed them back from against one Thrall's attack, and when I saw that, Best Genius, you're the real MVP for that. But other things he can control his own fibers. For example, he can take the fibers off his jumper and he can use it to attack you with it, stuff like that. It's an awesome quirk. We don't really know of any disadvantages. I'm not really sure of any disadvantages, to be honest. It can be extremely strong. It can constrict you. It can even strangle you. It can suffocate you. So yeah, I'd say one of the only disadvantages to it is probably maybe it doesn't have a massive range of attack. For example, it doesn't have a massive range where it can it can't really emit out like attacks. But to be honest, Best Genius is the top 4. He's number 4 here, and he obviously worked around that, and he's worked so hard to use his quirk in all surroundings. And we've seen it. With his fibers, he was carrying no moves. So the strength of the fiber, he can manipulate that. We do know that fiber is extremely strong. Its tensile strength is quite up there. So here's my number 6. My 6th quirk is Shake. And that is by the character that got recently introduced, whose name is Shindo, not Shinzo. Shindo is from Mrs. Joke School. I can't remember what their school is called. I believe it starts with a K or something like that. Shindo's practically, pardon me, earthquake. Whatever he can touch, he can vibrate. So it's an amazing quirk. I loved it when he did that massive attack. I can't remember what it was called, but literally he just created a massive earthquake, and that was amazing. The only disadvantage is that he feels the aftershocks on his body, so he has to be kind of sensitive with the magnitude of these attacks. First of all, it's just lit, man, honestly. It's such an amazing quirk, and I just loved it. The range of that attack was just disgusting. It could have took out everyone, to be honest. It messed up the whole landscape in that exam. But anyway, let's get down to number 7, and that is Air Propulsion by Gran Torino. I love Air Propulsion because I just find it so reminiscent of like the gold age of heroes. Maybe because it's Gran Torino and just his whole outfit kind of just mirrors back to like the golden age of comics and heroes, superheroes and all that kind of stuff. But it's just an awesome quirk because first of all, again, for mobility, really amazing. It's extremely strong. Like we saw it with it, he cracked through the concrete with it. So yeah, I do love about it is the quirk works by basically you can propel yourself through the air by he's got like, I don't know if it's with his costume, so he's got like jets on his feet and he uses the air within his body to propel himself. So the faster he can go and all that kind of stuff is all dependent on how much air he has in his lungs. So by him breathing, I think he could like propel himself forward and all that kind of stuff. So it's an awesome quirk. I really do love it. Let's get to number 8. My 8th quirk is Disintegration by Shigaraki Tomura. Now this quirk is just villainous. It's just so terrifying and amazing. So we don't really know much about this quirk, but basically whatever he touches disintegrates, as long as his 5 fingers, so his 5 fingertips are touching it. So for example, there was a point where he was holding Deku by the neck, but he was hovering one of his fingers. So he was doing like only 4 and he was hovering this one. So obviously Deku wasn't disintegrating by that. So it's amazing quirk. We don't know the extent of the damage, how far it can do. For example, if he touches a whole building, that would most likely, yeah, it would disintegrate just like that. Imagine that he's just standing there in the city, holds a massive tower, like the base of it will all plummet down. So Shigaraki, amazing quirk. Now, this quirk, first of all, is deadly to combat against. It's kind of hard to get around it. You need to be fast. That's why we saw it around in the fight with Eraserhead. Like he was combating against it, but he just couldn't dodge it because it's your hands at the end of the day. So it's his hands at the end of the day. So yeah, it really is awesome. It's only activated by his hands, so it's not just bodily contact. So I guess that obviously makes it much more safer for Shigaraki. Say number 9 is Wind Quirk by Inasa. Now, we don't really know the name of this quirk. You don't even know much about it, but all we know is that Inasa can control wind, and that's unbelievably powerful. We see it when he was able to take out 120 students with these balls. Now, it just made me think about it. He took the balls from these opponents. Now, we don't know how many he took, but at maximum it must have been 360, because every student had, I think, 3 balls. So at maximum, obviously 120 times by 3. He was 120 students, they had 3 each. So obviously he was able to take maximum 360 balls. So that's just madness. And at minimum, he was able to take out 120 students. Now, we do know this wasn't a fluke, because we do know that Inasa has unbelievable accuracy with his wind. When he was carrying things, he was actually moderating the different level of output of the gusts of wind, and how light they were, how heavy the objects were carrying it, and he variated the output in different gusts of wind. So that's obviously so much sensitivity that he has to his quirk. He's very accurate with it. Unbelievably powerful. Obviously, he scored above Todoroki. So this guy, he's got potential to be a big shot. Inasa definitely does. His quirk is unbelievably powerful. I believe we haven't even seen the full extent of it, to be honest. I don't think we have. So I can't wait to see him again and see what his quirk can express. Now, number 10, and that's my final one, and that is obviously by my boy Bakugo, Explosions. Now, I just love this quirk because it's amazing. It fits his character and it's so unbelievably powerful. But I love what he's done with it, because at the end of the day, you'd think an explosion quirk would be so dull, so boring, because all you think it'd be is just like, oh yeah, he's just blowing things up. But Bakugo's done so much with it. Like, Bakugo's not strong just because of his explosions. He works with his explosions. For example, there's an attack called the Howitzer Impact or something like that. And it's basically, he uses his explosions to propel himself into the air. He spins himself around, basically creating himself to be a tornado, and then throws himself at you. Like, it's unbelievably OP. Bakugo is so amazing with his quirk. He's not a prodigy, but he's extremely developed with his quirk. He's at the top of Class A. Him and Todoroki, they're the top 2 at Class A, which is obviously ironic because they failed the exam. But with Bakugo, he's done so much with his quirk. He's trained it, for example, he can concentrate it into a small impact. I'm not sure what disadvantage there could be for his quirk. All we know is his quirk works through his sweat, and basically Bakugo's sweat is nitroglycerin. Now, nitroglycerin is an extremely flammable substance, so his sweat, which is coming out of his pores, he can ignite it instantaneously. Now, we've only seen him do this through his hands. Bear in mind, we have sweat glands all over our body, so does this mean that he can instantaneously combust all over, like the Human Torch, kind of? I'm not really sure. Only time can tell, to be honest. We know that, however, with Bakugo, he can obviously moderate his explosion, so you can explode it where it won't be as harmful to a human being, or he can do it extremely powerful when it can damage a human person. So, yeah, Bakugo, that ends my top 10 quirks of Boku no Hero Academia. If you liked anything that I had to say, please drop a like. That will be greatly appreciated. Now, I did leave out some of the quirks. For example, I didn't do One for All, which is obviously All Might's quirk, because I just feel like that's an honorary one. And that's just a hacks one, man. Like, I didn't want to put that one in the list. And then there was obviously the other one, All for One. All for One, I didn't want to put that quirk in, first of all, because All for One, he has a multitude of quirks. And also, the quirk All for One within itself is kind of like One for All as well. So I wanted to leave, they're in a whole other league of their own. So, yeah, they're obviously, those 2 quirks are still one of my favourite ones. But these top 10 were definitely ones which have stood out to me. So if you had anything I had to say, please drop a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. Let's continue the discussion down below on what is your favourite top 10 quirks. Now, I'll see you next week. Actually, no, I'll see you next time for any Boku no Hero discussions and all that kind of great Shinigami-san. Subscribe for weekly reviews of Boku no Hero if you haven't. I reviewed the series, manga, and I will be doing the anime again. So stay tuned if you're a Boku no Hero fan. Shinigami-san, peace out guys, and goodbye.